Hey, what's up, people? We got something special for you today. Not something that we usually do, but as we're always saying, we're always evolving. We're always doing something different. And what better way to start this weekend off? We're talking about a game that I love and a game that my host loves as well. I have with me my buddy Chad, also known as the Geekycast. Thank you for stopping by, brother. How you doing today?
Thanks, man. Doing well.
Awesome. So, what are we talking about today? Something that I think is very near and dear to both of our hearts that just came out, and I think we have both binged the hell out of it.
Yep.
And what is that? Is that some fighting game, right?
Yeah. Mortal Kombat, I think.
Mortal Kombat 1, which is weird,
Yeah.
right? When you think about the fact that how old is this franchise? 30 years.
Yeah, 92, 90. Yeah.
Insane.
Crazy.
So funny enough, Ed Boon had just posted on Twitter the other day that it was the 30th anniversary of Mortal Monday. Do you remember Mortal Monday?
Dude, years ago.
Yeah, it makes you feel old, right?
Yeah.
So again, guys, we're here. This is our Mortal Kombat 1 SpoilerCast. The reason that we say that is because we want to give you a heads up. We know a lot of people want to play the game, but a lot of people want to know about it and want to know more than others. So this is your formal warning. If you didn't see the name of the show, double check. This is spoiler territory. We're going to deep dive a bit into the story, how we feel about it, and how we feel about the game as a whole, and maybe where we see the franchise going. And yeah, we take it from there. So again, three, two, one. That story, huh? I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I literally played the game, got to the end, and literally
Yeah.
the first person I thought of was you. As soon as I saw portals opening, for those
Yep.
that are not familiar, Chad is big into the world of Marvel and DC, and we talk a lot about the world of the MCU on Twitter and TikTok. And whew, that ending. Want to share your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't really know what to say. Like honestly, I was gonna record my reaction to it and I was like, nah, I'm gonna let it be organic. I'm not gonna record, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna play it. And like everything we got in that little bit, Ed Boon just said, let's take the last, I would say, since Mortal Kombat Armageddon, and let's just put everything together and let's binge that. And it was not a letdown. I'm gonna be honest with you. I loved it.
So, what would you say out of that portion? So, we're going to be talking pretty much. We're going to skip to the end because to me, the end is like the biggest um, differentiator from the story. The story is great, it's got a lot of
Yeah.
serious components. But when we get to the end of that story, it just kind of like it goes crazy, right? So, we
Yeah.
get to a point where we have the pyramid
Hmm.
and just multiversal war, for a lack of better
Yep.
words, right? And this
Yep.
is my little guy, this little X. Say hi to everybody. We're in the middle of recording, bud. So, all right, I'll come down in a little bit. So, as everybody knows, with Press for Time, this is what happens. This is part of our lives. This is part of our journey, and we appreciate you dealing with that. So, but again, yeah, talking about that pyramid and the fact that we had portals, pretty much a la Endgame slash.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I was saying Secret Wars because we're not there yet, but that's ideally where we're going with that in the Marvel
Yeah.
world, right?
Hmm.
So, who did you pick at the end? That's what I want to know.
Sub Zero. Bihan is he's so iconic to me. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge new Cybot fan, but I was like, what would we get if Bihan actually lived through the whole way? Like his whole character is so different in this one. He's almost evil, but he's not evil. Like I loved it. Everything about him and his brother back and forth was my cup of tea.
It was a really, really cool dynamic to I feel like as watching the story evolve, I was like, it's coming, it's coming. And then it didn't come. And I'm okay
Yeah.
with that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, there's always that room for that opportunity to happen. They could change the story. It could be someone else. It
Yeah.
could smoke could turn into him. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for that. But I have to agree, he is by far my favorite in the story so far. Um, I felt that it was a little weird where we get to that point in the story where he's kind of going in that villainous arc, where
Yep.
he's doing what he's, raised to do essentially. But then we don't
Yep.
really see much of him after that until you get to pick your character, which is a little out of place because that's the one thing I
Yeah.
felt like it felt like a DLC, that scene. You know, it
Yeah.
you get to that point where you get all the Titans from all the different timelines, and then it just kind of goes into gear like 300 miles an hour. And I'm like, picking my character. I'm like, but wasn't I focused on Liu Kang and this whole thing? And now I could just pick anybody. And now
Yep.
and you don't know, at least I didn't tell who the variant is, because we're going to use the term variant here because again, we have so many versions of all these
Yeah.
characters. Is the Sub-Zero that we chose the one that we played with through the story or not? Or is it just
Yeah.
another one that has joined this war at the end?
Yeah.
What do you
I mean,
think?
I think he was a Titan. I think the thing was they gave you the when those portals opened and you looked at the bottom and everybody was there because he was also the color of the one that you had in your game. If at least for me,
Right,
like I
right.
had a green one, so he was green.
The
Yeah,
customizable. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know. It was great. Like I would have never thought that. Like Boone was just like, let's throw him a right hook. Like that whole thing. Like honestly, they mentioned Armageddon. They mentioned the Deadly Alliance. They threw everything at us in 30 seconds, and you just had to be like absorb. It was crazy, crazy.
It was a lot. Eh,
Yeah,
somebody's having fun with my figures. You can take the two of them. Go ahead. Go play with them. Hey, for somebody that's a diehard Five Nights at Freddy's fan, he's like
yeah.
growing that interest into Marvel, so that's a-okay with me.
Always works. Whatever Dad likes, right?
Yep. But the one thing I will say that was a little weird was,
Okay.
going into that story again, the tone changed. I felt like a
Yeah,
kid in a candy shop, so I absorbed it and loved it. But it's one of those like second reflections. You go back and you start thinking about what you saw, and I'm like,
yeah.
all right, it's cool. There's a ton of fan service, but then it
Mm-hmm.
kind of, if you remember, like the one thing I don't know too is as you're going through those fights, are all those fights the same for everybody, or are you going to get even more varieties of
Mm.
these mix and mash characters? Since we both played as Sub-Zero, I'm assuming we fought the same guys. Like you had the alligator skinned um
Yep. Reptile.
Garrus. It was Garrus, I
Oh,
think.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
And then
Okay.
there
And then
was
you
like
had
the Johnny
Frost.
Cage Baraka, which was weird.
Oh, I didn't have that.
Oh, dude,
I
yeah.
had Johnny Cage Shao Kahn. I
Okay.
had Sub-Zero Frost, which was it just said Sub-Zero.
Right. I did have that one.
Did you have Sonya Kano?
Yes. Yeah, because there was
Uh
one that looked like Baraka, had all the spikes, but it was Johnny
oh.
Cage with the sunglasses.
Oh, you are right. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
He was like one
okay.
of the first ones. Okay, and
Yeah,
then the
yeah.
Johnny Cage Shao Kahn was before the group of Melinas or whatever it was, or
Yes, it was
whoever
like
those
three or
people
four
were.
of them. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Because then you
Okay.
get
Dude,
the
it was
mime.
crazy.
The mime was awesome. You
Yes,
had
I
to
like
bring
that.
Johnny Cage
Yep.
mime.
Yep. And then the girl Johnny Cage too. When
Yes.
they like threw off, was it Goro or Nataro? Or
I,
Motaro?
it
Motaro.
it might have been it might have been Motaro. And then they kind of
Okay.
give the thumbs up and then they fall. They die
Yep.
anyway.
He like yanked him. Yep.
It's so funny
Yeah.
because it's like you think about if that obviously in a live action, it's like, oh my God, to get all these people to do that. And then like you're just killing them off left and right. Like we don't see that in
Yeah.
a Marvel world. It's like everybody, it just becomes like that overpanned scene where everybody's
Yep.
just fighting, but you don't know what happens to anybody other than
Yep.
the main focus. In this case,
It,
everybody's dropping like flies.
yeah. I mean, it was honestly, it was so crazy to me. I honestly, I can't grasp it. Like, I'm already starting my second playthrough because let's be real, in my opinion at least, the first quarter of the game is cool. Like, you're like, oh, this is something new, but it's still like, it's casual.
Right.
And then you get to the part where Shang Tsung and Quan Chi meet, and then you're like, oh shoot, is this already Deadly Alliance? And then Goro or Shao Kahn is like Armageddon or whatever he says, in that portal opens, and you're just like, what? And then
Yeah.
like all those things that you never understood, like how did Kuai Liang get a scar? How did Havoc's face fall off? Like all these things you never knew.
Right.
and they literally gave you
They've as
everything.
the plot progressed. Yeah.
Yep. And I was like, the biggest thing was to me was always like, are Kuai Liang and Sub Zero or and Bihan gonna continue what they are? And then he's like, that whole knife sequence, man, was
Right.
crazy.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
yeah,
So
I don't
one of
know.
the biggest parts I liked, that it's more of a gameplay mechanic, but it fit well
Okay.
into the story. If you
Yeah.
remember, when you play the game, you start off, you have your basic, Raiden and Liu Kang,
Yep.
no powers, but they
Yep.
play without powers. And as they
Yes.
evolve in the story, you start gradually getting their powers, which I thought
Yep.
was a fantastic way. Because you think about it, and it's like, huh, if you play them in multiplayer mode or whatever, you have these powers. They're like
Yep.
they're almost dumbed down, But
Yeah.
again, it's almost like, I guess they took the modifiers from invasion mode, but I just think it fit well to the story, because obviously he gets the amulet and things like that, and then all of a sudden, all right, now he could be that badass that we knew, you know.
Yep. Well, it was crazy too because I always push start when I have the new character, and then I look through the basic, the left right triangle, left right circle, and Raiden only had left up right X, which was his cartwheel, and I
Right,
was like, dude, he's worthless. He literally just does the drunken master hit, and
right.
then throughout the game you get the lightning, and then you get like the run across the screens and all these things, and I was like, well, but I am a little upset that we didn't get a single finisher in the thing in the
In the
story
story
mode.
itself.
We didn't get a single one. We didn't get to do anything like that.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of constantly beat up and come
Oh,
back
but
for another
everybody died.
day, ideally.
Yeah, but I feel like they could have given us a couple more characters. Honestly, in the story, it was pretty long, honestly, but like you didn't need certain characters. Like you didn't need Sindel. You didn't need Baraka. You didn't need really Melina. Like
But the
I
problem
almost
is,
wanted to.
Molina is a fan favorite that people have
Yeah,
been
yeah.
demanding.
Yep.
So, that's one thing I will give Ed Boon and the team, is they listen to the fans.
Oh,
They've
for
real
sure.
over the years,
Yeah.
whatever people want, for the most part, we get. I think the only
Yeah.
gripe I've had for the years of being a fan was when
Yeah.
they got Arnold and they weren't able to get his voice. To me, that was the biggest
Oh, yeah.
loss of an opportunity. Even get an impersonator. I don't know if there's legal stuff that goes into his likeness, which is possible. But there's
Yeah.
there's guys, I'm sure you've seen. There's a guy on TikTok and Twitter
Oh,
that
yeah.
impeccable with Arnold. That
Oh, yeah, he's a
that
bodyguard. Yeah.
imitation that they had was weak, and it really took me out of it as a big Arnold fan. But outside
Yeah.
of that, like, they've they've always come guns blazing, swords swinging. The DLC
Yep.
is incredible. What we're getting already, fits
Yep.
perfectly. But
Yeah.
I agree that we didn't need all the characters. They could have fit them into the story without making them playable. But
Yeah.
again, they gave us pretty good amount of characters to start with, and the fact that there's
Yeah.
always room for a second season pass. Where you could
Yes.
add more
Yes.
characters.
But I am a little upset. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm upset that Ermac was done so dirty. Ermac is my favorite, like all time. And it's like every game he gets worse. He was a red palette swap, and then he was like a zombie, and then he was like all in chains and stuff. It was super cool. And then they did this, which he was super broken when you had to fight him, but he was super lame like throughout the cutscenes
Well,
to
now
me.
he's superhero.
Yeah, now he's Gerard or whatever.
Yeah, kind of weird, but again, I think they're finding ways to reinvent the story without
Yep.
changing too much. Because
Yep.
I think the biggest change is really the visual style. Everybody looks a little more on the mature side. I feel like they
Oh
focus a
yeah.
lot more on the visuals, looking more realistic. Um,
Yep.
we don't have the traditional outfits in most of the characters outside of the cameos. And I'm assuming, I'm still playing invasion mode, but I'm assuming that we'll get more costumes that might fit the aesthetic of what we remember.
Like they're
But
older, yeah.
the biggest gripe I have is when you customize your character, if you remember with previous games, you can have a couple of palette options.
Yeah.
You pick one and you're one and done. So for me, like Johnny Cage being Van Damme and Johnny Cage, like if I want to play as him, I have to change the swap before I go in deciding I want to do that. And it also affects the second player. It's kind of
Yeah.
a weird decision, but
Yeah, and it's very basic. Like it's cool, don't get me wrong. Like I like right now how like you can get Scorpion with the shoulder plate and the the rope, but then you look in the story mode when it's the other Scorpion in that other world and he's got that weird mask and the spikes and I'm like, "Bro, I want that." But who knows how I'm going to get that? Like
right.
I'm doing all the tower endings right now and there's certain characters that you just can't like fix. Like Bihan and Kuai Liang look exactly the same. That is a gripe I have. The only difference is one's ponytail's up top, one ponytail's behind. Same character.
And their voice.
But
That's
yeah.
really
Oh
the
yeah,
major
yeah.
difference. Because they do
Yeah.
carry themselves a bit different, but visually, yeah, I have to agree. It's almost
Yeah.
like a palette swap, which in a weird
I
way
like
is
it, but you know.
appropriate. But yeah,
Yeah.
but again, they're also brothers now, so they're making them even more alike than they were before, you know.
Yeah.
But if you I think I only did one of the towers for the story, and it talked about like that post of
Yeah.
Scorpion actually creating the new clan. So
Yep. The Shiryu.
we're
Yep.
going in that route. So I mean, there's room for it. But again, I think people are afraid like how many times you're gonna reinvent the wheel. This is like the third reboot when you think about it,
Yeah.
but this is a formal reboot, I think, with having that timeline being a justified reason versus
Yeah.
before, where it was just like, oh, new generation games, let's just kind of start over, you know?
I think it made sense though, because honestly, in my head, midway through the game, I was like, bro, we're gonna end and it's gonna be it. Like I was kind of upset. I was like, and but that whole like second timeline and then like 12 time, I was like, bro, that's so cool. And I don't like multiverse really for the most part. Like I'm very like I like a story that's contained, but the story has to make complete sense. And that's what I think Ed Boon does really well that a lot of people don't. Like Marvel, it's really hectic. And I feel like with Ed Boon, like this game, then at the end of that post-credit scene, like bro, like a King Havoc of another universe, and he's like ruthless. Like when he like dropped that mace, like they held nothing back. Like, it's almost to the point where like you can't make content for that game because it's so bloody. Like you have to blur out everything.
Right.
But
I do like that we got to see Jax Sans arms
of
again.
yep,
Poor
yep,
guy can't catch a break. It
yeah.
makes
I
you
mean,
wonder too
yeah.
if the cameo is gonna get the arms, like if we're gonna get a palette swap for him or not. I mean, it seems
Oh
obvious,
yeah, he
right?
doesn't have them, huh? Yeah.
Because he's
Uh,
OG.
yeah. Well, the problem is, do you like the cameo characters? Let's be real. Do you like that system implemented?
Very limited, very limited. It makes you want to just have those characters as playable characters. Limited move set, it makes it tough.
Yeah.
I like some blends with others, but for the most part, I'm not a fan of like the characters. Like I've used a lot of Frost, and I'm a Cyrax fan, so I love being able to use him,
Yep.
but not to be able to use him is frustrating. Like I would rather just be able to play with him because I'm a Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat 3 nut. So all day, Scorpion and Cabal.
That's that's my game. That's what trilogy. Yeah, on the
Okay,
Nintendo 64.
nice, nice.
Dude, that was Ermac and Sub-Zero.
And it's funny, you noticed that Chameleon was in the story mode, right?
Yep. Yep.
64
Didn't talk though.
exclusive. Yeah,
She didn't talk. I was like, what are they doing? Like, but
fan
with the cameo
service.
part, yeah. But with the cameo, the problem is have is people just spam it. That's the problem. I don't like that I can be getting hit by Kano all game across the map and I can't get to the person. So
Right.
that is where I do have a problem. I think they did really well in the story, but I feel like there will be a lot of complaints in the multiplayer. The fact that when you're getting juggled in this game, I don't know. I've been out of Mortal Kombat like playing the games for like 2 years, but when you get juggled in this game, you can't get out. I get cornered and I get juggled the whole game, and I'm just
Right.
over it. But
Yeah, they have like
story,
the parrying system in there a little bit, but I wasn't able to get it working well. Like I'm practicing it in tutorial and stuff, and
yep,
there's like midair juggles that you're supposed to be able to get out of. I'm like, not working for me. So
yeah,
I don't know. But
yeah,
there's always room for patches and opportunities for them to potentially nerf characters that do that, which that's part of the evolution of the multiplayer fighting game aspect of it. I appreciated the games more back in the day, growing up playing them as a fighting game. I've
Yep.
learned to appreciate them more for the story and going into that. And
100%.
sometimes these extra like the crypt in the past, and now we have this invasion mode. The invasion mode feels a little repetitive, at least
Yes.
where I'm at so far. A lot of the character swaps and like you getting fake names, it's like Shaolin Monk and it's like a lot
Yes.
of the same.
Yes.
But to be able to have to grind through that instead of just having an easier way is a little frustrating. But at the
Yeah.
core, it's a fighting game, so that's what's going to be there. It is cool that
Yeah.
we got Test Your Might in there and stuff like that. So, they've done a good job kind of balancing all these different components that they've had over the years. Um, I'm glad that the palette swap thing and the weapon, like the outfits, is not overly contained like it was with like Injustice and stuff. Like you had all these different armors.
Yes.
Having one piece is fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And then having the palettes, like Johnny Cage is one of the only ones I have multiple palettes for. He's got one
Okay.
with the jacket. But like I don't want it to just be a color palette. I want like a design change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I feel you. I have like 9 Sub-Zero that all it is the color and then the mask.
slightly
The mask
different.
is cool, but yeah,
Right.
it's like it's like one has a spike like this and one has this and it's the same thing, but like yeah, I wish we could almost like how you were saying, Injustice has its hit or misses, but I would like to be able to give my character shoulder pads or like, take off the mask or with Kuai Ling, I'd like to add the scar or but I mean, you can't win them all and who knows, like you said, they listen very well to their fans. We could have a patch in the future or we could have another slot or who knows.
Agreed. Cool. Is there
So,
anything else that you want to speak negatively about? Just because, I mean, at the end of the day, we love the game, so we're not here to
yeah.
really bash it. But again,
Yeah.
there's always going to be that one thing that you don't like. And was there
Yeah.
anything else you could think of?
Okay, so my biggest problem with this game is, and this is from a visual standpoint, because my thing is like if something's visually and it's canon, and you bring something over and over again, right? Why are they changing the looks of I get it. Like in this universe, the characters can look different. Like in this game, Sindel was not as like her like hair it was all everywhere and stuff. But the other Sindel, the hair kind of just moved fluent versus like in this game, Katana doesn't even look like the same person.
Right.
And you could argue like certain characters look very animated. And it's like I wish that not Quan Chi, Shang Tsung was the I don't know his name, but the actor who played in the
Carry
movie.
from
Yeah,
the
like
last game.
why didn't they just bring him in? Like, why wasn't he in that? Or why weren't all the characters from that universe? Why didn't they look like they looked in 11? You could
Well,
always just pay
that's a
them a little
big
bit more.
weird connection too, if you think about it, because by the end of the spoilers of who's really behind it, it's supposed
Yeah.
to be that Shang Tsung, but he looks
Yeah.
nothing like him.
Yep. That took me
So
out of it because it blew my mind. I was like, whoa, other timeline. But in my head, it took me a minute. I'm like, he doesn't look even like the same character. And none of them look the same. Like Shao Kahn, super good design in this game. But he looked more like Motaro.
big departure from what we expect.
He went dragon to centaur. I was like, oh, still cool, but and they didn't develop him. Like I remember Ed Boon had a whole conversation about how he was super weak and how he was a frail kid, and his dad used to like make him a warrior. And Sindel like touched it. Like, give me those characters. I want I want a whole plot of him. I don't care about Shang Chi. Like he's in or Shang Tsung. He's in every game. And yeah, Shao Kahn is too. But how cool would it have been to like him to actually kind of be good? Like it's different
Or
apparently,
just
but you
or
didn't
even
do
just
it.
relate to him, almost like
Yeah.
a Joker, if you will, like the
Yeah.
Joker movie.
Yes. Yes. Like you actually want him to not die. And in this game, you're like, I wish this guy was dead already. Like this guy's lame. So
Yeah,
that's
he's
about
just
it.
in
I
the
mean,
way.
yeah. Yeah. I don't really have any big complaints. I love this game. Honestly, I'd give it like a 12 out of 10. Like I liked Aftermath, but it just, I don't know. The visual a little bit. It looked crazy good, but then you got me out when I didn't recognize who was who in the other worlds at the start. That's about it.
Yeah, I think to add to that, when you do that multiversal stuff, you start getting ones that we're familiar with, but they still don't look like what we're familiar with. Like they
Yep.
hint at it. It's like, oh, this Sub Zero looks a little like him, but he's still vastly different. I think it's hard to obviously have so many characters models in the game. I get that.
Yeah.
But for a scene like that, you probably could have, again, there's certain ones, like you have OG Jackson there,
Yeah.
like in the story, but you don't have anybody visually outside of Liu Kang from the last game. So that was a big disconnect, I feel too.
Yeah, I kept getting thrown off when I saw him because if I remember, he was a revenant at the end of 11 when it was the bad ending. He just had that weird chest piece, and I didn't even know who that was until I actually looked at him. I was like, I for some reason the way he came off, like the angle, I just didn't recognize him, and then he talked, and I was like, oh, Liu Kang. But I did really like Liu Kang in this game. Other games he was kind of annoying, he was kind of foolish, and Raiden, obviously killed him on accident. But in this game, you felt for Liu Kang. Like he had this power that he didn't want. He just wanted to live peacefully. So great character, great
Yeah,
development on him, great character development on Garrus, or however you say his name. But
yeah, the for the sands of time.
yep, great character development. Everything else, and yeah, great.
Have to agree. Awesome. Well, we can cut it short and sweet. I think that was really what we wanted to talk about. I
Yeah,
really appreciate your time today, dude. I think we have some great stuff lined up in the future. We're going to work together some more.
yeah,
And we're going to make sure to link up all of his social media stuff so you can check him out. Make sure to give him a follow on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube as well. And again, we hope you enjoyed our little spoilercast. We appreciate your time as always. Until next time, take care and have fun.
have a great one, guys.